You know, the thing that we all must come to realize is that disappointment, challenge, issues, failure, strife, lack of support, all of that, those things are all components of life, right?
What's happening, y'all? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now, where we're bringing the village to the brothers. Every couple of weeks, you can look forward to a quick inspirational message or a thought-provoking guest with knowledge and wisdom, all geared towards helping you be the best father that you can be. We're bringing the village to you. Now it's your turn to do something with what you learned. All right, y'all. Let's go.
What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D, Mr. Double Down on You, your favorite personal development coach, with another episode of Black Fathers Now. You know, one of the questions I'd like to ask today on this beautiful day, and any day that you're alive and breathing is beautiful, but one question that I'd like to ask you is, how do you deal with failure and disappointment? How do you deal with failure and disappointment? Does that become fuel for you, or does it discourage you? Does it become fuel, or does it discourage you from moving forward? You know, the thing that we all must come to realize is that disappointment, challenge, issues, failure, strife, lack of support, all of that, those things are all components of life, right? They're all components of life, but they're all tests as we go through life. And the test is all about how do you respond when you're faced with that adversity. You know, you don't grow when things are comfortable. I think that's pretty common knowledge, right? Growth comes when you experience some level of discomfort. You know, necessity breeds innovation. We've heard that quote before. And the reality is, when you're comfortable, you really have no incentive to grow. So in a lot of instances, you have to encounter failure. You have to encounter challenge. You have to have your back against the wall before you're mentally, emotionally, and or spiritually in a place in which you make necessary changes, in which you make the adjustments, in which you actually innovate and go from point A to point B. And in the midst of a lot of it, the result is failure. The result is disappointment. The result is a lot of things that really just don't make you happy. You know what I'm saying? But the question is, how do you respond to that? And, you know, there's a poem that I learned years ago called If. And one of the stanzas states, if you could meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. You know, I did a full talk about that particular stanza a while ago on one of the previous episodes. But when you think about disappointment, when you think about challenges, when you think about failure, and then you go into that stanza from if you can treat triumph and disaster, if you can treat those two imposters just the same, if you can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. So that means winning and losing are both imposters because they come and go. The question is, how do you respond to them? So when you have disappointment, when you have failure, take a step back and think about how you're responding to it. Because the thing is, you could not have disappointment or failure if you weren't doing something. So that's a pat on the back that you're actually moving in the right direction because you're doing something, right? A person that never loses never tries anything, right? And you don't have to win all the time. You just got to find that one win at some point. You hear some car outside making a lot of noise. That was the background there. But yeah, so you don't have to have a lot of wins. You're just looking for that one win. Because again, that one win can make up for a lot of losses and a lot of failure. But in the midst of the losses, the failures, and the disappointments, what lessons are you learning? what things are coming out of you, what levels of resilience are you building, what calluses are you building. I was thinking about, our body, right? And you look at the top of your foot versus the bottom of your foot. If you pinch the top of your foot, it kind of hurts a little bit, right? If you flip over and you pinch the bottom of your foot, you barely feel it. Why is that? See, the bottom of your foot gets calloused. The bottom of your foot is designed for wear and tear. The top of your foot is not. That's why if you flipped over and tried to walk on like the balls of your feet, or walk on the toes on the front side or the top of your foot, it would not be comfortable, right? So by walking over and over and over and over again on the bottom of your feet, the way that they are designed, you build up some level of resilience, which then gives you the ability to walk miles and miles and miles, or to go run marathons, or to stand up without it hurting all day, every day. That's how it's designed. It's your foot, the bottom of your foot specifically, is designed for wear and tear. If you take a step back and you think about our lives and journeys, and how when we really look at winning, losing, disappointments, failure, all of those things being a component to how we go through life, the reality is those things are designed as well so that we can build up some level of resistance, like the bottom of your foot, right? Or the bottom of your feet. And if you think about that, that's needed and or necessary so that you can meet the next triumph, or the next disaster, or the next issue, or the next challenge. You can meet it with some level of resiliency. But without going through the disappointments and the failure, you don't build up any of that. And so it would be like walking on the top of your foot that doesn't have that same level of protection as the bottom of your foot, because it has not built up that level of resilience. So when you think about that failure, that challenge, or that issue, or that disappointment that you're going through, maybe it's about time to start reframing it and looking at it from the standpoint of, you know what, this is all here to help me build up a level of resiliency so that I can then use this thing going forward. And it's also preparation for something else. Do we know what that thing is, or that something else is? Not necessarily. But the reality is there's a reason behind it. There's always a reason behind it. So don't get caught up in the disappointment. Don't get caught up in the failure. Evaluate, reframe, refresh, but move forward. But move forward with a level of resiliency that you did not have before that disappointment or that failure. And I'll promise you, you're going to be better for it. All right. Again, fellas, man, sometimes it's not what you do or what happens, it's how you respond to that thing that happens to you. So we really have to be mindful of how we respond, or our response to various circumstances and situations, because how we respond to things really will dictate the type of life that we end up living. And how we respond to things that aren't favorable is really a telltale case of your character. So how you deal with it matters. All right. But don't beat yourself up, because everybody fails. Remember, the best baseball players hit barely just above 300. That means, 65 to 70% of the time, they're not getting on base, but they still might end up in the Hall of Fame. Dig that. All right. Well, hey, fellas, as always, make sure to follow Black Fathers Now, and be on the lookout. I got CoachMikeD.com dropping pretty soon. We'll have some offerings to help brothers who are high capacity, high achieving, brothers who are making waves in the world, but there's an aspect of their life that they need to rethink, they need to see through a different lens. Man, look, that's what we're here to help. And so CoachMikeD.com will be available pretty soon. I'll keep y'all posted on that. But until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. Leave ratings and share this bad boy out. I'll holler at you. Peace.
Yo, fellas, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And always visit blackfathersnow.com, as well as follow Black Fathers Now on virtually every social media platform you can think of. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just follow us and engage with us, man. Look forward to hearing from you. And I guess until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.